All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Just My Thoughts. So, a couple weeks ago, maybe even a month or so ago, I made a video about chores and whether or not it was a good idea to give chores to children to help teach them responsibility or as even a punishment. Today, I'm back on Reddit in the parenting section, and we're going to be a little more controversial. I know this topic is controversial. It's about punishment, spanking your children. So let's read it and let's discuss. Question for parents who choose to parent differently than they were parented. My parents spanked me and my sister and made a number of other parenting choices that I have chosen not to continue. I try to take an approach with no physical discipline and less punishment and shaming in general. But when my kids misbehave, my instincts scream at me that I should punish them. I refrain from doing so, but the thought is definitely there. And then when I calm down, the second guessing begins. If they're not as well behaved as I remember being, is it because I'm doing something wrong? And I know that how well behaved I remember being and how well behaved I was are not the same thing. Anybody else deal with this kind of thing? Any tips? All right. Take a seat on the justice couch. Let's dive in. I definitely understand the change in thought process and transitioning away from the parenting style of your parents. Because that's a natural thing. I grew up in the country, which I've stated several times, and anyone who knows about the country back in the day, you know that there was punishment that was, a little, I don't want to say harsh, but it was, I got spanked. I got spanked. My sisters got spanked. My cousins got spanked. Not only from my parents, from my grandparents, my aunts and uncles. And back in those days, I was born in 1981. Even the teachers, even the teachers could spank you. And then when you came home and your parents found out about you messing up in school and getting spanked by the teacher, boom, spanking number two. Spankings with switches, which are just like thin tree branches or whatever, extension cords, brushes, combs, shoes, belts. I know some of y'all are like, what the hell? Yes, we got spankings with all those things. Now, I wouldn't consider it abuse. I don't think that, my parents or anybody else abused me or anything like that, because it wasn't like, okay, it was just swinging without care and hitting you all in the face and punching you and stuff and all that stuff. It was none of that stuff. It was a little bit and, that was it. I'm a parent, and initially the first couple of years or whatever of my kid's life, I spanked, a little smack on the hand, a couple smacks, 1, 2, usually like one on the bum or one or two on the bum. And since I'm a big guy, I would even just kind of like a little thump on the head, just kind of boom. I don't need to use a lot of force to get my point across. And so I used the physical punishment initially. But I started to transition away from that because I didn't want to get to the point to where I got so upset. And trust and believe, anybody that's a parent, your kids test you. They will test you. And I did not want to get to the point to where I was so upset that I just lost control and ended up, bruising one of my kids, or even worse, breaking something because I just got too physical with them. So I started looking for alternative ways to punish them. And so I transitioned to taking things away. So think about, if you don't eat your food, I'm telling you, go eat your food or whatever, and you don't want to eat, you want to mess around. All right, the punishment would be you don't get dessert. So you don't get to partake in the sweet stuff, in the good stuff, if you don't eat your food. Or go to bed. You don't want to go to bed, you want to stay up and play and everything like that. Okay, well, the next night, you go to bed a little earlier. Or you don't get to watch television, your favorite cartoon or whatever, the next day. If you mess around in school, the teachers can't spank you anymore. I think they ended that like back in the late 80s, maybe early 90s. But if you mess around in school, you get a bad report or something like that, then okay, you were supposed to go to your friend's house, or if it was something major, you were supposed to go to a birthday party or something like that. You can't go now. Now you have to stay at home. There are some parents that do the timeout, go sit in the corner, but kids have a lot of energy, so making a kid sit in the corner for like 10, 15 minutes, they're just going to be messing around. So you have to just basically sit there and stand there with them. So you're punishing yourself, trying to punish them. So I didn't do the timeout where you're sitting in the corner. I did make, with London, I would have her sit in front of me, so I'm watching the news or watching sports. So I'm still enjoying my show. But, even at a young age, we're in the technology age. So my kids had access to iPads and they would take the phone. Let me play a game on your phone. So I would take the iPad or take the phone or take the little Logitech VTech, game console or whatever. And I would keep that and I would just make you sit there and watch me while, while I'm watching my show and enjoying my show, since you want to act up, and then sometimes kids cry. I had no problem with a kid crying. Some parents, it's an annoying sound, the screaming and everything like that. Some parents want to cave and give in to the child and say, okay, you're crying, let me give you what you want. Don't do that, because that just reinforces that behavior. Because think about it, as a baby, that was the only way they knew how to communicate, was to cry. I can't speak, so I cry. Mommy feeds me, I get, something. So, crying is my way to communicate. As they get older and they learn the language, they can't use crying as their way of communication. They have to use words and different ways of getting their message across. And when you reward that negative behavior, they're falling out on the floor, crying and screaming and yelling and losing their minds. When you reward that, they're going to keep doing it, because you're programming them to say, okay, this is how I get what I want. So I would just let them cry. And okay, you can go and cry in your room. And you'll see after 10, 15 minutes, the crying stops. Why? Because they've cried themselves to sleep. So now they're taking a nap, they can calm down, and then you have a conversation afterwards to address that issue. Like, okay, that behavior is not acceptable. You crying and losing your mind and saying no and being disrespectful, that's not acceptable. And it's not going to get you what you want. What's going to get you what you want is by you listening and being good. And so you let them have their little temper tantrum, and then you give them time to calm down, and then you address the temper tantrum. So I found a way to get away from having to just physically spank them, but also still punish them, but talk to them about why they are being punished. And I think that's the approach as we continue to, be exposed to the world and the way people operate and think changes. Because my kids have have access to more things than I had. Like I said, they had technology early on. All of the technology that they have at birth, I didn't get exposed to until I was a teenager. And so how my parents were raised and how they were taught, they were raised in the country. You grew up, farming, physical labor and stuff like that. And then also being Black, African American from America, that slave mentality of being whipped, a lot of that was part of the programming. And so it's kind of in the psyche. And so as we get older and generations change, how we interact with our children has to change as well. So I don't expect my children to parent the way I parent. I would hope that I have taught them some things and am teaching them some things on how to communicate with their children in the future and stuff like that. But they're going to have to find their own approach. So, like I said, she's transitioning away from how she was parented. She didn't feel comfortable disciplining her children physically. But the thing is, it sounded like she was saying that she doesn't punish them at all. And let me just verify that. Let me just double check. Say, I try to take an approach with no physical discipline and less punishment and shaming in general. I'll say, she says less punishment. I don't believe that you should allow your children to just do whatever they want to do. That's not parenting. I've heard people say, oh, they're a free spirit. You know, they didn't ask to be brought into this world. You're responsible for them. They're not responsible to listen to you. That's BS. Because if they're not responsible to listen, then there is no parenting there. I'm just letting you do whatever you want. I'm not your parent. Your teacher is your teacher because your teacher knows more than you. They're trying to educate you and teach you something. Your parent is your primary teacher. They're trying to educate you and help you to become productive in society. So when a parent says, okay, well, I can't discipline my child, I can't punish my child, I have to let them do whatever they want to do, you're doing your child a disservice. Because then when they get older, that's programming. They're going to believe that I don't have to listen to anyone. I don't have to listen to my boss when they tell me I have to be to work at 8 o'clock. I don't have to listen to my boss when they told me I have to finish this report or whatever. I don't have to do anything that I don't want to do. And I'm still going to be rewarded with the things that I want. You're setting them up for failure. So it's okay to not use the physical discipline when it comes to your children. And I think many parents are transitioning away from the physical punishments. But it's, I would say, my opinion, just my thought, to stick along with the name of my freaking show, just my thought that not punishing your children at all does not help them. And I don't even think that it makes your life easier as a parent. Because some people, they say, okay, I don't want to punish my child because I feel bad. I feel bad taking away their gaming console. I feel bad taking away their phone. But are you changing the behavior? Your job as a parent is to take care of the child, provide food, water, shelter, some guidance, help them with the homework and stuff like that. And just to kind of teach them how to become self-sufficient when they get older. That's your responsibility as a parent. Their responsibility as a child is to listen and take in that knowledge. And although they can't pay any bills, they can still contribute, which is what I said in the last video about the chores. So they don't just get a free ride just because, I didn't ask to be brought into this world. Like we were told in the country back in the day, I brought you in this world and I'll take you out. That's a threat that, that they didn't intend on, carrying out. But it's one of those things is, okay, yes, you may not have asked to be born, but I didn't ask for you. What? I did not ask for you. When me and your mother had bang bang, we didn't say, okay, we want this particular child. We didn't get to create you in a lab and say, this is the child that we want. So just like you didn't ask to be born, we didn't ask for you to be born, but we got you and you got us. So now we have to work together as a family to make sure that we take care of us. So I do my part as a parent, you do your part as a child, and we live in harmony. So don't let your kids run wild. Don't let your kids do whatever it is that they want to do. Give them some responsibilities and make sure that they understand that negative things get negative consequences. Positive things get positive consequences. So when something happens, the primary thing is the communication aspect. Let me explain to you why this was wrong. Let me talk to you and make sure that you understand the behavior that you displayed, the action that you did, and how to improve it in the future. Don't reward the negative behavior, the bad behavior. If you want to transition away from spanking, that's fine. If you want to do the whole timeout thing, that's fine. But the main thing is making sure that you let your kids understand and let your kids know so that they understand good behavior and bad behavior. And don't just let it go unchecked. That's just my thought. Let me know your thoughts. For those of you that are parents, what is your parenting style? How are you parented? And are you just like your parents? And if you are, why? And if you're different, why? Are you running away from how your parents parented you? So, share those comments. Those of you that are looking to become parents. Good luck. It is a challenge, but it's a beautiful thing. Watching your kids grow up and come into their own is a very, very beautiful thing. I see so much of myself, and I call them my minions, which I guess is a slightly bad thing, because if you've seen the show Despicable Me or The Minions, they were funny, but anyway, that's a thing. But I call them the Minions because they watch the Minions and Despicable Me so many times when it first came out. Every day was about, okay, Minions, Minions, Minions. And so it stuck. So even now, London is, how old is London? Almost 12, I think. And Landon is almost 10. Yeah. And then Jaylyn, she's about almost 15. So, but anyway, that's additional information that you did not ask for. So anyway, let me know your thoughts, and stay tuned for another video. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe. Remember, whatever you do, do it justice.